Welcome to Dog Facts Funny. There is a moment many dog guardians recognize instantly. You call your dog's name, give a familiar cue, or gesture in a way you've done 100 times before, and nothing happens. The dog doesn't move. They don't look at you. Sometimes they sit. Sometimes they lie down. Sometimes they simply remain where they are, as if the request never reached them at all. And in that quiet gap between expectation and response, a word often forms in the human mind: stubborn. It's an understandable conclusion. Humans are meaning-making creatures, and when something doesn't respond the way we expect, we assign intention to the absence. We imagine refusal, resistance, defiance. We imagine a choice being made against us. But dogs do not experience the world through that kind of narrative. They are not negotiating status, nor testing boundaries for the sake of control. When a dog does not respond, it is almost never because they are trying to prove a point. It is because something else is occupying their attention, something internal, something environmental, something emotional, that matters more in that moment than compliance. This episode is not about correcting behavior or fixing obedience. It is about understanding the space where misunderstanding is born. Because when we look closely, what we call stubbornness in dogs is often one of the most honest forms of communication they have. Stillness is not refusal. To a human, stillness often reads as an action. To a dog, stillness is information gathering. Dogs evolved not as creatures who rush forward blindly, but as animals who survive by noticing. When a dog stops moving, pauses mid-walk, or seems unwilling to proceed, it is rarely because they are refusing to cooperate. It is because their attention has shifted inward and outward at the same time, scanning the environment in ways we cannot see. Dogs process the world primarily through scent, sound, and subtle changes in movement. A smell lingering on the wind, the echo of a distant noise, the presence of another animal that passed hours earlier. These things can arrest a dog's attention completely. In those moments, motion is delayed not out of defiance, but out of caution. Stillness is the dog's way of saying, "I need to understand this before I move." From the human perspective, the pause feels inconvenient. We are moving through time with goals in mind, destinations to reach, schedules to keep. But dogs are not oriented toward the future in the same way. They are oriented toward safety in the present. When the present feels uncertain, movement becomes optional, not automatic. What we interpret as stubbornness is often the dog choosing awareness over action. And that choice is not a flaw. It is an ancient survival skill. Overload looks like resistance. Dogs live in a world that is far louder, more crowded, and more complex than the one we perceive. Even in environments we consider calm, dogs may be absorbing layers of sensory input simultaneously. The hum of electronics, distant traffic, unfamiliar scents carried through open air, emotional tension between people in the room. All of these arrive at the dog without filters. When that input accumulates beyond what the dog can comfortably process, the nervous system does not always respond with visible fear or excitement. Sometimes it responds with shutdown. The dog slows down. Responses become delayed. Familiar cues seem to disappear into silence. To the human eye, it looks like the dog is choosing not to listen. In reality, the dog may simply be unable to prioritize the request among everything else their body is registering. This is especially true for sensitive dogs, young dogs, rescues, and dogs who have learned that unpredictability precedes danger. In those dogs, overload doesn't produce chaos, it produces stillness. The dog conserves energy, limits movement, and waits for clarity. From the outside, that waiting is mistaken for resistance. From the inside, it is self-regulation. A dog that appears stubborn may actually be doing their best to remain stable in a moment that feels overwhelming. And stability, for a dog, is always more important than obedience. Confusion is often misread as defiance. Dogs do not generalize concepts the way humans do. What feels obvious to us, that a word, a gesture, or a situation means the same thing as always, may not feel obvious to them at all. Dogs rely heavily on context. Small changes in tone, posture, timing, or environment can alter the meaning of a cue entirely. When expectations shift without clarity, dogs hesitate. They slow down not because they are refusing to comply, but because they are uncertain which response is correct. A dog that once moved confidently may suddenly pause, look away, or remain still, not out of defiance, but out of caution. They are avoiding getting it wrong. Confusion is an uncomfortable state for dogs. In uncertainty, the safest option is often to do nothing. From a human perspective, that nothingness feels like stubbornness. From the dog's perspective, it is restraint. Dogs do not challenge authority when confused. They withdraw. They wait. They hope the world will make sense again before they move forward. And when clarity returns, so does responsiveness. Emotional atmosphere shapes response. Dogs are deeply attuned to emotional undercurrents. They may not understand language the way humans do, but they are experts in reading tension, frustration, urgency, and expectation. These emotional signals arrive faster and louder than any spoken cue. When a human becomes impatient, disappointed, or stressed, the dog often senses that shift immediately. For some dogs, this creates anxiety. For others, it creates hesitation. The request itself becomes secondary to the emotional tone surrounding it. The dog is no longer responding to a cue. They are responding to how the moment feels. In these situations, what humans experience as resistance is often the dog attempting to reduce pressure. Slowing down, disengaging, or remaining still are ways dogs protect the relationship when the emotional environment becomes uncomfortable. They are not rejecting the human. They are avoiding escalation. Past experiences leave invisible imprints. Every dog carries a history, whether we know it or not. Past experiences shape how present moments are interpreted. A sound that once preceded danger. A movement that once caused pain. A tone of voice that once signaled unpredictability. These memories do not always surface as fear responses. Sometimes they surface as hesitation. A dog who pauses is not always reacting to what is happening now. They may be reacting to what once happened in a similar moment. And because dogs do not separate memory from sensation the way humans do, the body responds first, before conscious behavior ever has a chance to form. This is why some dogs appear inconsistent. They respond easily one day and hesitate the next. The difference is not stubbornness. It is association. Dogs are not stubborn in the way humans imagine stubbornness. They are sensitive, perceptive, and deeply responsive to the worlds they inhabit. When they pause, slow down, or disengage, they are not opposing us. They are responding honestly to what they feel. When we stop asking, "Why won't my dog listen?" and begin asking, "What is my dog noticing right now?" the story changes, the behavior changes, and most importantly, the connection deepens. If this perspective reshaped how you see your dog, you're not alone. This space exists to explore those quiet truths, the ones animals live by every day, whether we notice them or not.